What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bonnie and this is my channel where I talk about all things lifestyle and DIY. So if you're interested in either of those, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. But today I'm so excited to share with you guys my little room makeover. So originally the plan was that I was going to make their kids their own room and kind of decorate it and do it how they would want it so that they could be comfortable spending more time there. But the more I thought about it and the more I realized that they're not ready for their own room yet. So I decided to convert it into something that I've always wanted, which is a craft room. But instead of it only being my room, they're also going to be spending a lot of time in there as well because when I work, they're gonna want to be close to me. So I converted it into a craft / toy room for us to share. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. A couple of things as far as the inspiration for it. I just wanted something for my craft space that I could just leave it alone so that I could have like space to work. I have a sewing machine, I have a Cricut machine, and then I also have a heat press for making t-shirts. So I just wanted some place that I knew that all of that stuff could stay and not be in the way as far as like the dining room table, the kitchen countertops, and places like that. So I know I wanted something like a desk for that. And I also wanted storage. So I knew that with like the sewing machine, the Cricut, and the heat press, there's things that are gonna come along with it that you're gonna need storage for. So like the thread and the needles and bobby pins and fabric. And then there's the vinyl and like all of the other things that come along with doing heat transfers and designing signs and stuff. So I wanted a couple of things for storage for that. But I also knew that I wanted to maximize the space. So instead of building wide, I also built up. So I'm gonna show you guys that in a little bit here. So if you guys are interested in seeing this craft room / toy room makeover, just keep watching.
Fly away to the skies, shining bright like a shadow shine, dreaming high like the stars, dancing through.
So this is what the room used to look like. It was very white and very plain, and I knew that I wanted to kind of liven things up. So the best way to make a space much more inviting and welcoming and almost brighter is to add a splash of paint. So I started off by laying down some drop cloth just because I didn't want any of the paint to get on the floor. And this color of paint has actually been calling to me for several different projects, and I looked it up to see what the exact name was, and to my shock and disbelief, I found out that this color is called marigold, and it actually is a flower. And this specific flower is the flower that my mom planted throughout my entire childhood. So I think it's an annual flower, so it grows every year, but I remember these flowers in my mom's garden or mini garden or whatever near the deck, and it always bloomed every year, and that's the exact color. Sorry, I'm getting chills and I'm tearing up. But yeah, so this color has been calling to me for many of my projects, and I decided to finally look it up, and it is the flower that my mom planted. Have any of you guys ever seen Trading Spaces? This was my favorite part of the show. Make sure you guys comment down below if you know what I'm talking about or if you have no idea. But the paint reveal was always my favorite part of the show, and it just was super cool to see what colors they decided on, because sometimes it would be so far out there that you're like, whoa, how could they possibly make this look cute? But in the end, it turned out mostly okay most of the time. I started off by painting all of the corners and the sides just because I wanted to make sure I got in there where a roller couldn't go, and then I went back over it with a roller for it to be much faster. Let's go ahead and talk about this desk. So I built this desk along the entire wall of the window because I knew that I needed a lot of space to work. Not only that, but if Landon has any homework or if they want to draw, anything like that, they can also use this desk for those activities. So I started off by cutting the tops of the desk. So I used 1x8 boards, and I used 4 of them to the width of the wall. And I also tried to utilize a lot of the pieces that I already had on hand, so scrap wood from other projects, and that's how I built the bottom shelf. That's why it doesn't reach all the way to the end of the desk or the front of the desk, but I'm okay with that. So I assembled the shelf downstairs, and then I brought it upstairs only to realize that it didn't work with the height of it, so I had to come back downstairs and trim off a little bit of the top. What I'm going to use this little shelf for is just baskets, and I'm going to use it for organizing. So storage for my vinyl and other scrap pieces of vinyl that I might be able to cut off from projects that I'm doing. After everything was cut, I brought it upstairs to try and assemble everything. So the desk is actually sitting on two 2x4 pieces on the sides of the wall, and the middle is not really supported as much as I want it to, so I'll probably fix it later on down the road, but it is being supported by that little cube shelf that I made. And for added support, I did add a couple of 1x4s underneath the boards to make sure that they're all secure and attached together. After the desk was installed, I went back and I started applying the stain to it. So I've been using the same combination, which is a whitewash stain, and then going back over it with a Provincial, which is a warm brownish color, I think. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it's a really pretty color combination because it kind of gives you a boho vibe, but it can also be rustic or it could be modern as well. I do realize that it was probably easier for me to stain it while it was out, but I was too impatient and wanted to see how this desk would turn out when it was installed. Now let's talk about this rock climbing wall for the kids. This was such a fun project and kind of challenging at the same time, only because we have metal studs within our walls. So if it was wood, it would be easier to secure it to the wood studs so that I knew that it was nice and secure pretty much. But unfortunately, I don't have wood studs, so I had to use drywall anchors. And luckily my children aren't that heavy, so I believe it holds up to 130 pounds, but fingers crossed that they don't rip it out of the drywall. I purchased the little rocks from Amazon and I started spray painting them because I wanted it to fit in with the color palette of the room. And then I went into the room and I did exactly opposite of what I normally do, and I looked for studs in order to avoid them. The plywood that I used is actually leftover wood from the workbench that I had at our last house. So I am trying to save as much as I can and reuse what I have. After the boards were stained, I went ahead and I put the rocks onto the boards so that I could look at the placement and see where they would look best. Unfortunately, I don't have a video of me securing this to the wall, but I did secure the panels to the 2x2 boards that I secured to the drywall. Not that this pillow would save them from any sort of fall, but it was really cute. I decided to get them a little floor pillow for underneath their rock climbing wall. Let's move on to the curtains. So I've purchased the same curtain rod that I did for the living room makeover. So if you guys haven't seen that, make sure you check it out. But I decided to DIY the curtains this time because I was really trying to go for budget friendly. I bought the kids twin bed sheet sets and they both came with flat sheets, so I decided to use the flat sheets for the curtains. The first thing that I did was install the curtain rod. Again, avoiding any metal studs, I tried to use drywall anchors instead just to make this process a lot easier for me. After the curtain rod was installed, I had to sew up the curtains. I took a home ec class many years ago, so that's the last time that I literally sewed anything. So my curtains might not be perfect or anywhere near straight, but they definitely work for this space. So this is what they look like prior to me cutting off the bottom and sewing that up, but I think it's gonna look perfect. So this little rack here is actually something from our last home as well. I used it in our office, but I wanted to repurpose it for the space of my craft area. So I actually got this grid from a friend from her kid's bed, I wanna say, but I used it as something for my office, and I purchased these little shelves from Amazon that would hook onto it. And I just wanted to reuse it in my craft area, but it didn't fit with the color scheme. So I went ahead and I took some gold spray paint and I gave it a facelift. The TV stand I had because I made over it a long time ago for Adrian's dress-up station, but it didn't have a back. So I think it was about time that I installed a back for it. So I purchased this board from Home Depot. I think for a full sheet, it was only about $16, so it was really affordable. So I cut it down to size and I installed it to the back of the dress-up station. Now let's talk about the shelves. They were something that I knew I had to have because I wanted to have some cute decorations as well as some storage on them. So I took a 1x6x8 board and I cut it down to 4 pieces. So each board is going to be 2 feet in length. I then took chalk paint because that's literally the only white paint that I have, and I painted each of the shelves white. I ordered these shelf brackets from Amazon, and I want to say that they were only $20 for a 4-pack, and they were the perfect size for the shelves that I was making. So again, to install those shelf brackets, I looked for the studs and I tried to avoid them as best as I could. I secured them with drywall anchors. After I did one side, I moved on to the other side for a total of 4 shelves. What's a kid's space without a kid's loft? So I decided to convert the closet that was in this room into a kid's loft. So the top bunk that I built is for Landon, and the bottom bunk underneath I made it for Adrian. So I made the kids floor pillows and I installed LED lights so that it would be nice and bright, and then we put all of their stuffed animals in there so that it was nice and cozy for them. I also installed a curtain on the top part using the leftover from the curtains for the window so that you don't see the ugly shelving that's installed. So the first thing that I did was I had to remove everything that was in the closet. So we used it for storage, so there was a lot of suitcases in there and just random things. I then wasted a lot of time looking for studs because I was going to make this a floating loft, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that. So I measured out the pieces that I would need in order to make the loft, and I used just 2x4 lumber to create the frame for the loft. I then brought all of the pieces upstairs so I could install it there. I would show you guys me installing this into the closet. Unfortunately, it would only be shots of my behind. But this is what the frame looks like when I have it installed with all of the legs holding it up. I then installed the floor, which is just leftover scrap wood from another project. I purchased 4 pillows from Target and 4 pillowcases from Amazon that came in a bundle pack, and I sewed the pillowcases together to create this floor pillow. I actually got this idea from one of my friends, Courtney, back in Seal Beach. So I made a floor pillow for Landon, and then I made one for Adrian that went underneath the loft. I purchased these LED lights from Amazon, and they're on a sticky strip, so it was pretty cool, and it also came with a 2-pack. So the 2-pack had a split adapter, so I could install 1 light on the bottom and then 1 light on the top for Landon. It was so uncomfortable to put these lights in, and let me just tell you guys, because I'm too tall or too big, whatever you guys want to call it, to be underneath this loft. Not to mention that it was super hot. Let's move on to the chairs. So I ordered these chairs from Amazon. I believe they're Christopher Knight chairs, which are also sold on Target or at Target, but they didn't have any in stock in the color that I wanted, so I decided just to purchase them off of Amazon. I believe for the 2-pack it was like $136, which is kind of a splurge for me, but I wanted chairs that went with the theme that I was going for. Believe it or not, I just followed the instructions to put these chairs together, and it was actually really easy. And this is what the chairs look like when they're all put together. Such a clean look, and I really love the color combination of the chair. So I bought this runner off of Amazon, and I thought it was the perfect colors to pull together the room. It had the color of the wall, so I felt like it would bring that in, but then it also had like this pinkish, reddish color that kind of gave the room more colors so that it wasn't just yellow. The last little DIY project is this sign that I made for the kitchen that the kids have, and I think it fits in perfectly. I love it. The simplicity of it is really nice. Alright guys, I think I've covered every single DIY project and things that I did for this room. Are you guys ready to see the reveal of the entire room? Here it is. This is my crafting space. I absolutely love the way that it turned out. The shelving is perfect. It's the right height just because I'm super short. I love that I used the little media stand to kind of block off my work area, but I still have enough space to walk around and move so I'm not feeling claustrophobic or smushed in the back corner. This is the kids' toy area, and I hope that they will be able to enjoy playing with their toys in here. The kids' loft, the rock climbing wall, their toy kitchen, Adrian's dress-up station. I hope this room is something that they are going to love and enjoy and utilize for the most part, because that's exactly what I did this for. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications because I have many more DIY projects to come. I will see you guys next time.